Have you ever looked at something you own and wondered how it got its price tag? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and go on a journey into the secret life of everyday objects. We're going to trace their path all the way from raw stuff in the ground to the finished products you see on the shelf, and we'll unlock the hidden story of how value is really created.
It all really kicks off with a simple question that's actually, kind of deep. How come a nice wooden table costs so much more than the huge tree it was made from? Well, the answer is all about the incredible transformation that happens in between, and that's the secret we're about to get into. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to look at the difference between raw and ready products, then follow the wild journey of chocolate. After that, we'll figure out the secret to making a profit, look at the ultimate example with gold, and then finish up with a quick review for your exam. Let's get to it.
Okay, so let's start with this one big idea. Pretty much every product you see has two lives. First, it starts out as a raw material, something from nature. And second, it becomes a finished thing, ready for you to use. Let's break that down a bit.
This image just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side you have the tree, that's our raw material, what we call a primary product, and on the other side, the table, our secondary product. It's the same wood, sure, but it has been completely transformed into something new.
So let's be super clear on the definition here. A raw material is just a resource straight from nature. Nothing's been done to it yet, it hasn't been processed. It's the cotton still in the plant, the cocoa beans in the pod, or the rocks with iron inside. It's the absolute starting point for, well, everything.
And then, on the flip side, we have manufactured goods. This is what happens when we take all those raw materials and put them through some kind of process. We literally transform them into something totally new, something useful, something you can actually go out and buy. That tree becomes the table. That cotton becomes a shirt.
So how in the world does that tree become so much more valuable as a table? It's all because of this value-add process. First, there's labor. You got to pay people for their skill and their time. Then you've got additions, things like screws, glue, and varnish. And finally, there are the process costs. Running the machines and using electricity costs money. Each one of these steps adds a little more value, and that's what bumps up the final price.
Now, let's see how this whole value-add thing works on a massive global scale. And we'll do it by tracing the journey of one of the planet's favorite things, chocolate.
Just look at this map for a second. It's kind of mind-blowing. Making just one single chocolate bar is a huge global project. The cocoa beans might come all the way from Ghana in West Africa, the sugar from Brazil, and maybe the milk from Europe. All of these different raw ingredients have to travel thousands and thousands of miles just to end up together in one little wrapper.
It all starts when the cocoa beans are picked. Then they're roasted. That's what brings out that amazing chocolatey flavor we all love. And finally, they're pressed to get all the valuable cocoa butter out. This right here is where the transformation really begins.
And here's the home stretch. That cocoa butter gets mixed with sugar and milk, poured into molds, and then cooled down. After that, it's wrapped up, packaged, and shipped all over the world until it lands in a store near you. What a trip!
Okay, so now we get how value gets added. But let's talk about why businesses even bother. It's to make a profit. And we're going to use a super tasty example to make this really clear. Let's pretend we're baking cookies to sell. Okay, first things first, we have to know our costs. Let's say our ingredients come out to $37.50, and the electricity to run the oven costs us $25. You add those two together, and you get a total cost of $62.50 to make one batch of our cookies.
So what even is profit? It's pretty simple, actually. It's the extra money you have left over after you've paid for absolutely everything it took to make your product. Think of it as your reward for all the hard work.
So if we decide we want to make a 50% profit, here's how we do it. We take 50% of our total cost, that's $31.25. Then we just add that profit to our original cost, and that gives us our final selling price, $93.75. That's how businesses cover all their expenses and still make money to keep going.
All right, for our last example, let's look at one of the most insane value transformations on the entire planet. Let's talk about gold.
Now this is just amazing. In its raw form, just a lump of ore from the ground, an ounce of gold is worth about $1,750. But after it's been transformed into a piece of finished jewelry, that exact same ounce is now worth around $3,500. The value literally doubles.
And this diagram shows us why there's such a huge jump. The process is enormous. It involves mining, crushing tons of rock, smelting it down, transporting it securely, and all of that happens before a skilled jeweler even starts to design and craft the final piece. It is the ultimate example of adding value.
Okay, we've gone through a lot, so it's time for a little quickfire review to help lock all these ideas in for your exam. Let's see what you remember.
First question's up. Think about a shirt. Before it was a shirt, what was it? What's its most basic natural ingredient?
That's it. It's cotton, picked right from a plant. Cotton is the primary product, the raw material, that makes up so much of the clothing we wear every day.
Question 2, a little bit of geography now. Remember our trip with chocolate? Which part of the world is the absolute king when it comes to growing cocoa?
You got it. West Africa. It's the heartland for cocoa, growing something like 70% of the whole world's supply.
Okay, last one. This is a thinker. So, a fish gets caught from the ocean. But what is it once it's sitting in a can on a supermarket shelf?
It's a manufactured good. And why? Because it's been processed. It had to be cleaned, cooked, and sealed in a can. It is definitely not in its raw, natural state anymore. Nicely done. So, we'll end on this. The next time you pick up a pencil, put on a pair of shoes, or even just eat a piece of toast, take just a second to think about its secret journey. Now that you know the story of how value is made, what object around you are you going to see in a whole new light?